The sun was low over the fishing village of Marata, its orange light spilling across the wet sand and bamboo huts. It was a quiet evening, the kind when people return from the sea with baskets of fish and children chase each other between the boats. But from the far edge of the coconut grove came a cry, short and sharp, not human, but deep and full of panic. It was the bark of a German shepherd. The sound broke the peace like a crack of thunder. A few villagers looked up, unsure. Dogs barked often here, but this was different. It was a sound that spoke of danger. At first, no one moved, but when the bleating of a sheep followed, high and terrified, men dropped their baskets and ran. They knew that cry. In this part of the island, the Komodo dragon was no story told to scare children. It was real. A few had seen one last year near the hills, long as a motorbike and strong enough to bring down a buffalo. If one had come again, they needed to act fast. 3 men led the way. Rahim, old but strong, his gray beard stained with salt from years at sea. Tark, his nephew, tall and quick, and Baima, the youngest, still new to danger but loyal to the core. They grabbed what they could, a long bamboo pole, a fishing net, a machete. No one wanted to fight a dragon, but no one would leave an animal to die screaming. As they ran through the grove, they could hear the chaos growing. The German shepherd's bark became hoarse, cut by the deep hiss of the reptile. The sheep bleated again, but weaker now. When they reached the clearing, they froze. There was a Komodo dragon, larger than any Rahim had ever seen, its skin dark gray, patterned with old scars, its claws digging into the soil. The air around it smelled of decay. The dog was circling, limping, trying to distract it from the sheep pinned against a fallen trunk. For a second, no one moved. Then Rahim shouted, waving the pole. The dragon turned its head, slow and deliberate. Its tongue flicked out, tasting the air, testing its enemies. The men spread out. Rahim yelled for others to bring ropes and more nets. Tark edged to the left, trying to draw the dragon's attention away from the animals. Baima moved to the right. Trembling but ready, the Komodo shifted, its heavy body scraping the dirt. It lunged toward Tark, who jumped aside, feeling the rush of air as the creature's tail swept past. It hit a small tree, snapping it clean. The men shouted again, striking the ground with sticks to confuse it. The German shepherd, seeing its chance, darted toward the sheep and began to pull at the ropes caught around its leg. Rahim moved fast, thrusting his bamboo pole into the dirt to block its path. The tip struck the dragon's snout. It hissed, a sound that made every hair on Baima's neck rise. Together they flung it, the coarse fishing net landing over the dragon's head. It thrashed, claws tearing at the mesh, but the distraction gave the dog enough time. It barked twice and limped back toward the villagers. The dragon tore through the net in seconds. It swung its tail again, knocking Baima off his feet. Rahim ran to pull him up. The ground was torn where the creature's claws struck, and the smell of blood grew stronger. Tark grabbed a burning stick from the nearby fire pit left by herders. He waved it in front of the dragon's face. The creature paused, blinking against the light. The villagers shouted from behind, forming a loose circle. Some carried stones, others thick sticks. Drive it back to the forest. Rahim yelled. They moved together, slow but steady. The dragon hissed again, lunged once more, but this time it met fire and noise. Smoke and shouting filled the grove. A rock hit its side, then another. The Komodo retreated a few steps, its forked tongue flicking faster. Finally, with a low growl that sounded almost like defeat, it turned and slid back into the brush, its heavy body disappearing among the ferns. The villagers stood silent, listening to the sound fade away. The danger was gone, but their hands shook from what they had faced. When the noise settled, Rahim walked to the dog. Its front leg was cut, deep but clean. The sheep trembled beside it. Still alive, it was stained with dirt. Rahim knelt and patted the dog's head. "Good boy," he whispered. The German shepherd leaned against his knee, tail moving weakly. Tark fetched clean cloth, and they wrapped the wound. The village women came running with water and salt to clean the cuts. Children watched from behind the trees, wide-eyed. The story would spread fast, how their men faced a dragon and lived. But for now, They worked in silence. Baima carried the sheep back, whispering softly to calm it. Rahim and Tariq helped the dog walk. Behind them, the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows on the path home. At the village edge, people gathered to see. Old men shook their heads, saying the dragons were coming closer because the forest was shrinking. Hunters had burned part of it last month to clear land. The animals had lost their food and wandered near humans. Rahim listened quietly. He knew they were right. The balance between man and nature was thin here. The Komodo was not evil, only hungry. Still, it was a risk. They would need to report this to the wildlife officer. The last time a dragon entered the village, it had taken 2 goats before being driven back. This one was bolder. Rahim decided they would build a stronger fence for the livestock and keep torches burning at night. The dog would stay near the gate. He had earned that place. That night, the village held a small feast. They shared rice, grilled fish, and sweet fruit. The air was warm and full of laughter again. Rahim sat near the fire with Tariq and Baima. The dog lay at their feet, asleep, its bandaged leg resting on a mat. The sheep grazed nearby under watch. "You were brave today," Rahim said to Baima. The boy smiled shyly. "I was scared," he admitted. Rahim nodded. Courage is when you act even when you're scared. The villagers clapped for them all. They called the dog Singa, meaning lion, for the heart it showed. The children petted him, telling him stories he could not understand but seemed to enjoy. In that moment, the fear of the afternoon felt far away, replaced by pride and peace. The next morning, as the light touched the sea, Rahim stood by the gate. The air smelled clean. Birds called from the trees. The dog sat beside him, alert but calm. The sheep rested inside the pen. Life had returned to normal, but the memory stayed strong. People still talk about the dragon, its eyes like fire and its body moving like a shadow. Yet what they remembered more was how their people stood together. No one waited for someone else to act. They moved as one, to protect what was theirs, their animals, their home, their peace. The Komodo might come again someday, but they would be ready. The sea, the forest, and the village shared one breath, one life. And as long as they kept that bond strong, no beast, no storm, and no fear could break them again.